I'll
thing.
forward
Okay.
the date sheets.
Yes. Do you have the date sheets
I do.
for you? Because your and Aisha's date sheet will be same, right? So can you put it on the group,
Sure.
the WhatsApp group? Yeah, that will be great. Okay, so Iram, let's start with the summary. I think it's time we should get going. I think Aisha will come. I think there's some issues or internet issues that she's not able to join fast. So let's start with. We started with types of leaf in the last class, right? So let's start with a quick summary, like a detailed one. You
Yes.
and me. Okay.
There are two types of leaves, simple and a compound. Simple leaves where the lamina is entire or
Yeah,
have.
okay. One. So whenever we talk about, I think I forgot to tell you in the last class, whenever we talk about types in biology, types are always on some basis, because see, what is a type? Type is a classification, right? So I can say there are two type of humans. Then the first question that comes to your mind, on what basis, right? So if I say on the basis of gender, then there can be more types. Or if I say on the basis of let's say um, people who live in temperate versus tropical versus different regions, or on the basis of some other phenotype, let's say eye color, or on the basis of hair texture. So it has to be on the basis. So this type of leaf is on the structure of lamina. Okay, basically the leaf structure. Yes, Aisha has joined. Hello, Aisha. And again, she joined and went back. I suppose there is some internet issue. Okay, continue, Iram.
Yes, sir. Uh, in simple leaf, where the lamina is entire, complete, or have many incisions, incisions do not touch the midrib. In compound leaf, incision of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into number of leaflets. There are two types of compound leaf, pinnately and palmately. Axillary bud is found in axil of petiole in both simple and compound leaf, but it's not found in the axil of the leaflets. Pinnately, the leaflets are present on a common axis called as rachis. Rachis represent the midrib of the leaf, example neem. Palmately, the leaflets are attached to a common point, if the tip of the petiole,
Mhm.
example silk cotton, etc. And then
Yes.
see, phyllotaxy, it's the pattern of arrangement of leaves on a branch or a stem. There are three types: alternate pattern, opposite, and whorled. Alternate pattern, a single leaf rise at each node, example China rose. And in opposite, a pair of leaves rise at each node, guava as example. And whorled, in whorled pattern, more than one leaf arise from a single node. Example, Scalotropis. Then we
Yeah.
have the multiplication of leaves. Some plants have tendrils, which
For
are,
world, the example is Alstonia.
yeah, see,
Calotropis is for opposite.
yeah.
Yep.
Modification of
Yes.
leaves. Some plants have tendrils, which are leaf modification that help as a climbers. Then there are spines. Spines are leaf modification of for defense and protection. Example cactus. Then for storage we have onion and garlics. Insectivorous plants, the leaf modifies to trap animal, pitcher plant, and Venus flytrap. Then we have discussed about inflorescence. Inflorescence defined as arrangement of multiple flower on the floral axis. There are two types, racemose and cymose. In racemose, mean axis continues to grow and the flower are borne laterally in an actropital succession. In cymose, the mean axis terminates into flower. It is limited in growth and new flowers are born in basipetal order.
Yes, correct. We have also Aisha. Aisha, can you hear us? Aisha, are you there? I don't think if Aisha can hear us or not, but Aisha, you are mute. Okay, okay, good to see you. Okay, yes, so Iram is giving a summary. Yes, Iram, continue with the flower and finish it.
A flower, reproductive unit structure of Androecium is flower. There are two types of flower, bisexual and unisexual. Bisexual flower are the flowers which have both male and female reproductive organs. Um, the the female
So,
reproductive flower,
yes,
Gynecium, which is also called as pistil, and the male is anther, which is also known as Androecium. Then we have
yes.
calyx, thalamus, which is cup-shaped structure.
So you're not going through your one good way to start explaining flowers is on the basis of the layers, outermost to innermost. You remember we did that? The first whole or the first layer is sepals or calyx. And then the second is petals or corolla. The third is androecium, and the fourth, the innermost layer, innermost whole is pistil. And then keep talking about that. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, finish.
Yeah, the first rule is sepals, which is the calyx. Then the second rule is the petals, which are also known as corolla. The third rule is Androecium, which is the male reproductive part in a flower, and fourth is Gynecium, which is pistil. Gynoism consists of three parts. The first part is stigma. Then there's a tube which is known as style. Then we have at the bottom ovary, and at the down there is the thalamus, which is the swollen part at the base of the flower.
Yes, right. And I think this is where we end, right? I told you about, no, there's one more topic, gamosepalous, gamopetalous, polysepalous, polypetalous. What was that? Do you remember that, Iram? Am I audible?
I didn't write that one.
Okay. Okay. Anyways, so let's start from here then. So in the ovary, which is this fallen part, I forgot to make this one thing, that ovary contains the embryo sac. Okay. And there are ovules present, because this is important, because what we are going to do next, study next after flower, is fruits and seeds. So just write down that ovary is the future fruit. So a ripened ovary is known as a fruit of a plant. Write down, a ripened ovary is called the fruit of a flower. And that's where when we will study fruits, I will be telling you that there are two kinds of fruits, true fruits and false fruits. Okay. And that demarcation comes from ovary. So ovary is the future fruit, and ovules are, obviously, if ovary is the future fruit, what will be ovules present inside? It's the easiest. Future seeds, right? Agree, both of you? Yeah. And write down gamosepalous. So gamosepalous is sepals united together. So sometimes sepals are united together, they are joined together. And if they are free from each other, they are called polysepalous. And then similarly, we have gamopetalous, which means petals united together. And if we call it polypetalous flower, then it has petals are free from each other, like rose. Rose is a polypetalous, like you have multiple petals and they're all free from each other. Is this clear to both of you? Yeah. Okay, now today I'll begin with the concept of estivation in flowers. So if you see what is estivation, it is right down. Estivation is the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals. It could be both. Sepals, petals in the floral bud. In the floral bud. And this arrangement is always studied with respect to. So write down with respect to other structures. Other structures structures means the same, either petal or sepal. Other structure of the same whole. Which means if we are talking about the first whole, which is sepals, we have to stick to sepals. If we are talking about the second whole, which is the petals, we have to stick to petals. So this is called estivation. Now to give you a better context, let me, both of you have NCERT with you right now? NCERT?
Yes.
Yes, please open your NCERT. And let me also figure out what is the page number. One second. Yes, it's given on page number 74 of your NCERT. 74. Okay, I've tried to pull out this figure for you. Yeah, can you see this image? Let me make it a little bigger for you. Yes, is it visible now clearly? Yeah. So see, these are the 5. So write down. This is called estivation, the pattern, types of estivation in corolla. So this we are talking about just the petals, corolla. So this is an example. So there can be 5 types, out of which 4 is shown here. We'll talk about the complex one. But just know, you see that if you look from the top, the petals in this case are arranged like this, right? They are just, touching each other but not overlapping, right? Do you understand? This is called valvate pattern, where they just touch each other but don't overlap. If they overlap, then it is called twisted. Easy to remember? It's just with the shape. And when they overlap, but they are overlapping not in a uniform, like not in one pattern. For example, this petal is overlapped on top from the other two. But if you see this petal, it's overlapped by one member from the beneath and the other member from the top. It's like that. So this is called imbricate. And then this kind of pattern where there are petals inside, then there are petals that keep going, ascending up, and then kind of make the flower as a bell or closed flower. This is called vexillary. Is it clear? Okay, so write down estivation. There are different types of estivation. There are different types of estivation, of which the major types are, first valvate. And now write down what does valvate means. Valvate is when sepals or petals just touch each other at the margins. When petals and sepals just touch each other at the margins, as you can see here in this case, without overlapping. Okay, and if you have to get an example, so I'm writing examples here. So for this valvate structure, example is Calotropis. Calotropis was also an example of what? In leaves, Calotropis was an example of opposite phyllotaxy. Remember? Just go up and you will realize. Can you also figure out Calotropis has valvate flowers and opposite leaf positioning? Do you understand,
Yes.
Aisha? Yes. So always keep connecting knowledge. It becomes easier then to remember it. Second, come to the second, which is twisted. Write down. In twisted, one margin of the petal or sepal, one margin of the petal or sepal overlaps with the next one, in a continuous clockwise or anti-clockwise manner. In a continuous clockwise or anti-clockwise manner. Okay. And this you see in China rose. Have you seen a China rose flower? This is the most common flower that is used in biology experiments when they have to teach you about flower, the structure, because it's also a bisexual flower. So China rose is a bisexual flower and it has twisted estivation of petals. Okay. And even cotton flower, flowers of cotton. So this and okra. You know what is okra? Okra flower. You know okra plant or okra. What is okra? It's what do we call it in lady finger? You know that vegetable lady finger?
Yes.
I don't know why it's called ladies or lady's finger. It it doesn't look like a lady's finger at all, but the other name is okra. So China rose, cotton, and okra or lady finger all have twisted estivation. I've never seen any lady in my life with fingers like okra. I don't know. I'm sure they must be high on something when they name this as lady's finger. There are many names which actually, when we say the names in our vernacular English, like the native Indian English, it's like, you know, brinjal is not called brinjal actually. Brinjal is known as eggplant.
Aubergine as well.
Aubergine as well, yes. Aubergine. So eggplant is that whitish one which looks like small egg. The longer one, the purplish one is also called aubergine. Similarly, lady's finger is not known as lady's finger elsewhere. Okay. Anyways, but their flowers have twisted. The name is also twisted, and the flowers also have a twisted estivation. Okay, third one, write down imbricate. Imbricate, write down here the margins of the sepals or petals, the margins of the sepals and petals overlap one another, but not in any particular direction or pattern. So they are randomly overlapping each other, but not in any particular direction or pattern. So they are randomly overlapping each other. And this is very, I have noticed this a lot myself in gulmohar. You've seen gulmohar flower, beautiful ones. Gulmohar, you use you here in English. No, you've not seen a gulmohar plant?
No.
No, never. Okay. You never heard. Oh, okay. I don't know if gulmohar is a Hindi word or a Urdu word, but in India, these flowers are very beautiful. Any one of you have visited India, Aisha and Ira, or have roots in India, relatives? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes, okay. You can then, the next time you talk to those relatives, ask them about gulmohar. Probably they'll be able to tell you what it actually is. Maybe you must be knowing, but not like this name, but maybe something else. And also cassia. Flowers of cassia also have imbricate estivation. So just remember these few examples. And then this vexillary is very unorthodox kind of a flower where what happens is one petal. So you see this one petal here. So one petal is the biggest petal. So they have no, so before vexillary, velvet, twisted, and imbricate, all three can have and actually have equal size of all the petals. Either they are just touching margin to margin, overlapping directionally, or overlapping non-directionally, random. But the petals can be of the same length. In vexillary, one petal is bigger, and then there are two more which are smaller than that bigger, and then there are two more which are the smallest. So they arrange in order to their size. So write down, in vexillary, mostly vexillary flowers have 5 petals. Mostly it has been seen, okay? So they have 5 petals, one being the largest, and whichever is the largest, also remember these terms because it has been asked. The largest one, let me remove this first. Yes. Can you see now here? The largest one is called standard. Then these two, which are smaller, are called wings. Okay. And then these two are called keel. So standard, wings, and keel. Okay. So write down, the largest overlaps the two lateral petals. The largest overlaps the two lateral petals known as wings, and wings overlap two smallest petals called keel. Two smallest petals called keel. Okay, and examples here are mostly your pea and leguminous like bean, pea and bean. Have you seen a pea flower? It's either white or violet. It's beautiful. There you can actually observe. I have observed pea flower myself, and you can observe this vexillary arrangement. And this vexillary arrangement is also known as, there's one more term for it called papillonaceous. Papillonaceous. Okay. Papillonaceous. It's just another name for vexillary. Even if you don't remember this, not a problem. Just remember vexillary. Okay. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Written everything? Shall I move forward?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So having understood about the flower, the estivation, the basic structure, now let's go to some parts of it. For example, we'll go to first Androecium. Basically, we'll do Androecium and Gynoism in detail, and other you already have written. Petals, sepals are done. Androecium, Gynoism. So this part is important for entrance. Make a star here. So you have to pay attention to Androecium and Gynoism part. Again, tell me what was Androecium, Iram?
Male reproductive part in the flower.
Yes, and what is it composed of? So this is the same symbol for male. This is the male reproductive part.
Anther and
Flower.
filament.
Yes, so flower. And Androecium is basically, can I call it stamen? It's also known as stamen. It is made up of two things, anther and filament, right? Yes. So about anther, write down. Anther is what? A sac-like structure. Contains, what does it contain?
Pollen.
Pollen grains. What did you say? I think Aisha said something. What did you say, Aisha? Now she'll say I said pollen grains.
I said pollen. No, I really said pollen.
See, I know you, my friend. Yes, you are really saying pollen grains, not a problem. And what is filament? Filament is a stalk-like structure. A stalk-like structure that supports the anther. Okay. Now, if I draw this structure for you, mostly this is how a stamen looks. Okay. The anther is bilobed mostly. There are monolobed anthers as well, but if there are two lobes, so can you see there are two lobes, and in each lobe there will be two chambers like this. Okay. So if it is a bilobed anther, these two chambers are called theca. What is this called? Theca. This is the chamber of pollen. This is where pollen grains mature. So if it is bilobed, if an anther is bilobed, how many theca will it have?
4.
4. And if it is a monolobed, how many theca will it have? 2. So in a way, each lobe of an anther is dithecous, right? Yes or no? Di means 2. So each lobe of an anther is dithecous, which means if it is a bilobed anther, it is a tetrathecous stamen. You understand the difference? If I'm using the word dithecous lobe, it means each lobe has 2 theca. But if I'm using the word tetrathecous stamen, can you now tell me how many lobes would have been there without knowing it directly? 2 lobes. Yes or no?
Yes.
Very good. And sometimes what happens is, and this is stamen, sometimes these theca are not able to produce pollen grains. Okay, so we call that stamen as a sterile stamen. So write down a sterile stamen is unable to produce pollen grains. A sterile stamen is unable to produce pollen grains and is known as staminode. Is that clear? And where does this part goes? This is the anther and this is the filament. Where do you think filament is attached? So it can be attached at two places in the flower. Okay. So when filament, write down, one possibility is the stamen through filament is attached to petals. So this is first possibility. Okay. So if they are attached to petals, they are called epipetalous stamens. Epi means in biology, remember this term, the word epi means over or above. Have you heard the word epidermis? Epidermis, never heard of the word epidermis?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is epidermis? What is epidermis? Your outermost layer of the skin. That's called epidermis, okay? So epipetalous means over petals. So filament is attached to petals, it's called epipetalous. The stamen becomes epipetalous. What is the second possibility where it can attach if it is not attaching to the stamens? Sorry, if it is not attaching to the petals, where can it attach? Now for epipetalous, you can write some examples, which is your brinjal. Okay. The aubergine. Or the second option is that it can attach to the perianth. Perianth is the tissue around thalamus. You have studied thalamus? Here, see. Let's go to the structure. This part. So this green part, this thalamus here, there are the tissues called perianth tissues in the thalamus. Okay. So basically they're attached at the base where the thalamus is. Is it clear, everyone? I'm writing it like this. This will make it easier for you to remember. So this is called epi. Again, it will be epi because it is on something. Phylus. Epiphylus. And this happens in lily flowers. That their stamens are called epiphylous stamens. You have to just understand the basics. The remembering part will come if you understand and discuss with me. Otherwise, you have to go and memorize it. So is this part clear with respect to the attachments of the filament? Please note everything down which is there on the board and let me know when it's done. I'm going a little slow so that you can absorb everything. Am I audible, Iram and Asha?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sorry, my internet got disconnected due to some issues. Okay. Am I audible clearly? Please let me know if there's any lag. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this part is done, written. So I told you that stamen can be either be epipetalous if it is attached, if the filament is attached to the petals, and epiphyllous if it is attached to the thalamus, perianth, the base tissue, the base surrounding the ovary tissues. Okay. Now, stamens themselves, write down types of stamens. The another thing is, and all this information is not very required for boards, but in entrances it's asked a lot. So morphology, plant morphology and plant anatomy are those regions which actually are used to make an entrance difficult, because you can, through this you can make an entrance more factual and boring, kind of, in my words, but it also then makes the entrance difficult. Okay, so you have to understand this to remember it. So this is the type of stamens on the basis of where the filament will get attached. Now, types of stamen on the basis of number and structure. So here they can be either united or free. Okay. Now, first is called polyandrous. Now, this is most easiest to remember, but often students get very confused or like frightened by this. The word poly means, Hiram will tell.
Many.
Many. And the word andros comes from andro. It has andro in it. What do you think? I told you that andro is related to male structure, right? So stamen is the Androecium, right? So polyandrous means multiple free stamens are there. Okay, they remain free, they are not joined together as a bundle. Okay, they are not present as a bundle, so that's called polyandrous. You can count each and every stamen separately. Does it make sense, Aisha and Ira? Do you understand this? So simplest. But sometimes what happens is they are not present free, they are bundled together. Now, when something bundles together, then polyandrous, or that's called monoandrous. But again, now it's bundled together. So if they bundle together on the basis of how many bundles they are forming, A, if there is only one bundle, so all the stamens are bundled together. So if there's only one bundle, it will be called mono. Mono means one. Adelphous means if they're bundled together. If there are two bundles, then so monoadelphous.
Diadelphous.
Perfect. So monoadelphous is China rose. That's why I was asking, when they show you China rose in school, they always show you that it is all the stamens are present in the center in a bundle. Okay, just surrounding the ovary. It's a beautiful arrangement. And you are perfectly correct that if it is two bundles, then it will be called two bundles of stamens, then it will be called diadelphous. Nothing to remember, right? Simple. And this happens in pea flower. Pea, okay? And then if there are more than two, now if there are more than two, they can be any, we don't care. So in biology, we study mostly 1, 2, and more than two bundles. Then what will you call it?
Polyadelphous.
Yes, perfect. It's called polyadelphous. Okay. And the example is all the citrus, orange, lemon, Mosambi, all these quinoa, all these are polyadelphous. Now, what is the difference between polyandrous and polyadelphous? Now, you think for a moment and then Aisha will answer. Are they same? Are they different? Because there are multiple free stamens in polyandrous and there are multiple stamens also in polyadelphous. But what is the difference between polyadelphous and polyandrous? Aisha will tell. You can take your time to think, but you have to give me the right answer. Aisha, you have to give the answer today, but
In polyandrous, the stamens are free.
in
Polyandrous,
polyandrous, there are many multiple stamen, but all of them are
but they are free.
free. Yes, all of them are single. In polyadelphous, what happens?
They are united.
United as one. Then it becomes monodelphous. See, the difference
United
is
in many groups.
united in multiple groups. Yes. You understood, Iram, what Aisha said? Do you agree with this?
Yes.
Yes. So in polyandrous, there are multiple free stamens, which means like one person standing on one tile and there are 100 persons. So let's say in a room, there are 100 people. Okay. Human. And there are 100 tiles. One is standing on each tile separately. So that's polyandrous example. Then there are 100 people and you segregated them in the group of 10. So there'll be 100 people in the 10 in each group and there will be 10 such groups. That becomes more than two bundles. That's polyadelphous. Is it clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's go to Gynoism.
So,
Yes. Yes, Hiram.
salvia.
Sorry?
Salvia, this is an example.
Salvia. Salvia is not polyadelphous or diadelphous. Where is it written? Salvia.
In Androecium in the NCRT. At the end,
Okay.
salvia and mustard.
See, salvia and mustard stamens are very, very varied. You know, their lengths are not same. So mostly in China rose, because you have asked, good point. So in China rose, all the stamens are in a bundle, are like this. Can you see this bundle? And then there will be stem. But they're all bundled as one. So that is China rose monoadelphous. In mustard, one stamen will be this one, the other stamen will be this one. They all will be of varied lengths. You understand? This is mustard, and also salvia. So you can write down salvia and mustard have uneven length of filaments in their stamen. Uneven lengths of filament in their stamen. Okay. Anything else that we might have missed? Eromanation.
No.
Any other thing they have talked about salvia and mustard? I think this is the only thing that is asked in entrances. It's an example of an uneven length filament. Okay, so let's go to Gynoism. So what is Ganosium? Just like male, what is this? Ganosium is this is the symbol for female. So it's a female reproductive structure of flower, right? The plant. And what it is made up of? What is Ganosium also known as? Pistil, right? Or a carpel. These two words are used for Gynoism. Is it clear? A pistil or a carpel. Now each carpel here, again, let's details, has a structure like this. Okay. Now this broader part is called stigma, as you know it. This part from here to here is called style, and this swollen part is called ovary. Okay. Now this stigma is the part where pollen grains come and fall, and it is the first part that interacts with the pollen grains. Okay. And this region is where the pollen pistil interaction happens. What do we mean by pollen pistil interaction? What is a pollen and what is a pistil? Pollen is the male gamete and pistil is this female Gynoism. So pollen pistil interaction, can you think of a logical reason why is this interaction important? Yes, Iram.
I'll give a guess.
But
I think they stick together, the pollen.
Every pollen can stick on every stigma. That's not a problem. So you mean, so let's say if I give an example, if a mango's pollen, if a mango plant's pollen fall on the stigma of a guava, what do you think is going to happen now? A hybrid of a mango and a guava will be produced? Yes or no? What will happen? Iram, Aisha, what is your logical thinking telling you? If a mango plant's pollen, so you say that if a mango plant's pollen falls on a guava stigma, then there will be fertilization. And what will be the product? What will be the result of that fertilization, Aisha? Because you fertilized it just now. So what will be the result? A mango plant or a guava plant or a hybrid plant? Aisha is thinking, why did I give the answer? But it's good that you gave the answer. You opened some discussion. So tell me, what should happen if there is fertilization?
Maybe
There's
a mixture of both.
mixture of both, right? So have you ever been to market and brought a moava, a mango and a guava mixture? Moava must be very common thing, right? Because who carries the pollen grains? Pollinators. Who are pollinators? Either insects, birds, or inanimate wind, right? So who tells the insect that if you get a pollen from mango, go to another mango only, don't go on a guava? They will go everywhere. Even the wind will take every pollen everywhere. So moavas must be a very common thing. Have you ever had a moava, Aisha? So it's a mango
No.
and you cut the mango and inside it's a guava and you feel, oh shit, it's cheated. You feel cheated. I will feel cheated. If I get a mango from market and open it with the excitement of eating a mango and inside it's a guava, I will feel devastated. But it does not happen, right? So which means that your first answer needs some correction. If a mango pollen falls on a guava stigma, fertilization will not happen, right? Aisha, what do you think now?
Yes.
What yes? You talk in one word. Aisha is a woman of one word. Yes, no, and the end of the class, thank you. What yes? What do you think is happening then? So just by logical thinking, we realize that this cannot happen. If this goes on happening, then it's a disaster. So somehow the stigma of every plant knows which pollen to allow to do fertilization and which pollen to not allow. Yes or no? Do you agree with me or no? Or you're confused? Okay. Anyways, that specificity comes from this pollen pistil interaction. So write down what is pollen pistil interaction. It is the biochemical interaction. It is the biochemical interaction between the molecules present on the surface of pollen molecules present on the surface of pollen with the molecules or sugars present on the surface of stigma. Molecules or sugars present on the surface of stigma. Okay. And this is important for species recognition. What do we mean by species recognition? Hiram, can you try? What is species recognition? Simple. The pistil has to recognize the pollen from its own species, and only those pollen will be allowed to fertilize. Now, how does fertilization happen? So let's see this pollen, this green one, and this one. These two are the right pollen. So only they will be allowed to form a pollen tube. Okay, do you understand? So after the recognition, after knowing that this is the right pollen, only those pollens are allowed to form a pollen tube, and that pollen tube goes all the way down into the ovary and enters the ovule from the lower side. So if this is the chamber, it does not open from the top, it enters from the bottom. And this is the region, this is where fertilization occurs. And this place is called embryo sac. And this embryo sac contains ovules. Ovules are the female cells to which pollen grains fuse and fertilize. Making sense? Is it making sense, Aisha and Hiram? Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So write down first draw this and label everything, and then let me know when you're done. Then I'll dictate. And Hiram and Aisha? Am I audible? Are you done?
Yes, sir. Done.
Okay. So start writing. We'll go part by part. We'll first talk about stigma. Write down. Stigma is the receptive surface. Stigma is the receptive surface that encounters a pollen grain first. That encounters a pollen grain first. A biochemical interaction between the pollen and the stigma takes place. A biochemical interaction between the stigma and the pollen takes place. To choose the right pollen for fertilization. To choose the right pollen for fertilization. This is known as pollen pistil interaction. This is known as pollen pistil interaction. And in the bracket, you can write important for species recognition. Then come to the next part, the style. The style is a long cylindrical structure. The style is a long cylindrical structure that connects stigma to the ovary. That connects stigma to the ovary. Second point, style facilitates the elongation of pollen tube. The elongation of pollen tube to reach the ovary. To reach the ovary. Is it clear?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Third part, ovary, write down. It is the swollen basal part. It is the swollen or bulged or enlarged. You can use words like this. Swollen basal part, which contains embryo sac and ovules in it. Which contains embryo sac and ovules in it. And is the site for fertilization in plants. And is the site for fertilization in plants. Okay. Now, write down each ovary can have one or multiple ovules. Each ovary can have one or multiple ovules in the embryo sac. In the embryo sac attached to placenta. Attached to placenta. Written? Written? Attached to placenta. Now again, for this Gynoism also, you have to write types on the basis of the structure here we'll read. First, it can be Apocarpus. The word comes from carpel. Apocarpus. It simply means more than one carpel present in a single flower. And all are free. And all are free. Okay. And this happens in, if you have seen, carefully observe rose or lotus. Both of these flowers have multiple carpels and the single flower, and all are free. The second thing is called syncarpus. Now it's simple. The word syn in biology is for union, coming together, syncytium. Okay, syngamy. In fertilization, there is one specific event called syngamy, which is the fusion of the male and the female nucleus inside the ovum. So that's called syngamy. Okay, synchronization. You must have heard this word sync. You have to sync your data with the with the Google Drive, or synchronization taking place. Have you heard these words, Aisha and
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the sync word is, which is here also syn, comes from the coming, fusing. So if it is syncarpus, write down multiple carpels present in one single flower, and all are fused as one. Okay, and this happens in, I think it happens in mustard. I'm not sure if it happens in tomato. You have to, I'm making a star here. Please go and figure out if it's happened in tomato as well. It's syncarpus. But the syncarp is also, it's not like from top to bottom they are joined. So what happens is, in every syncarpus gynoecium, what you see here are stigma. So the stigma will stay different. At the level of style, they will join. So there'll be one single style going down, and then there will be a big ovary with multiple ovules. You understand? So they're joined something like this. Make sense? Iram and Asha? Yes or no? And from here, we are trying to make a connection to fruit and seed. So here, you know that the ovules will become seed and the ovary will become fruit. And I already told you, some ovaries can have one ovule, and other ovaries can have more than one ovule. So that's where we see that some fruits only have one seed inside, right? Can you give me an example of fruits with just one seed?
Apricot.
Sorry,
Apricot.
I'm not able to understand your words. Mango.
So I think she's saying apricot.
Ah, yes, right. Or mango, right? Mango also has one seed inside. Or a plum, it also has one seed inside. And can you name a fruit with multiple seeds inside?
Watermelon.
Yes,
Orange.
papaya, orange. Yes, they have multiple seeds. So it's clear that their ovaries must be having multiple ovules then, right?
Yes.
Yes or no? Okay. A tomato has a syncarpus gynoecium, and inside a tomato, how many seeds do you see? Do you see that when you cut a tomato, there are chambers, there are multiple chambers, each chamber containing multiple seeds? Yes?
Yes, many seeds.
Yes. So because it's coming from syncarpus and multi-ovulated ovary. Okay, so let's stop here at types of gynoecium. And in the next class, I'll come to fruit and seed, and I'll see something not left, I think. Oh, one more thing. I will also tell you about fertilization and placentation in plants. Double fertilization is something that comes in class 12th, but I think if you allow me, I can just explain